What is up, YouTube? Today I'm at 228 Peace Park in Taipei, Taiwan, and it's hit that point in the weather where it's almost too hot to be out during the day, so you gotta pull up at night. And in today's video, I want to talk about why living in New York City, you gotta do it for at least 1 year of your life, but also why it's one of the worst value cities in the world. So a bit of context, I moved to New York City in 2022. It's 2026 now, so I've been there for around 3.5 years. And being in New York City, well, just to back up in terms of why I decided to move to New York City. So I graduated from college, I got my first full-time job around 2019, and I was working, doing my thing, getting my experience under my belt, and eventually I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. I moved back home, so I felt like I was a grown-ass adult, but I'm back at home living with my mom to save money on rent, and then I was like, I'm so young and I want to have some more exciting experiences in my life. And my sister went to school out in New York City, so I visited the city a handful of times before, and I only have fond memories of it. I just remember how fun it is. There's so much to do at any time of the day, and there's like this undescribable feeling when you land in JFK or LaGuardia Airport. You just feel this buzz in the air. There's like this energy to New York City, and I love that feeling. And when COVID happened, everybody was kind of stuck at home. I went out to visit New York City because New York City wasn't like super shut down. It was kind of shut down, but there's still things going on and happening, and I was out there. And then once I came back from that COVID trip in New York, I started to make plans with my employer to talk about working remotely and moving to New York City. So after I got the approvals there from my job, and at the time I was working at this large enterprise customer service software company. It was during COVID, and they recently announced that, hey, we could work remotely anywhere. I was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity for me to just fulfill my life mission as a 20-something-year-old, to move to New York City with the sole goal of obviously working my corporate job, but also to build a new exciting life and experience more things. And that's ultimately why I decided to move out to New York City, for the sole fact that I was looking for a more fun and exciting lifestyle, which I ultimately did find. So once I moved out to New York City, me and my friend Nate, we got a 2-bed, 1-bath, 6-floor walk-up in Midtown Manhattan for $4K a month, and this was around 2021. And in 2021, that was a pretty good deal. I was probably making around 110K at that time in my career, so I was able to save some money, but a lot of my money was going to rent, food, and going out, right, and having fun. I feel like when people first move to New York, there's like this common maybe some of you guys have heard it, but like sometimes some people feel like it's really hard for them to make friends in New York City. And for my case, I think that would have been the case for me, but in all those times I was visiting New York City, I would hang out with my sister, obviously, but I never have any friends. And then me and my friend Nate, we were actually acquaintances in elementary school, middle school, high school. We knew of each other, but we didn't hang out. And then one time when I was in New York, one of my buddies, Parsa, he told me to hit up Nate. I was like, that's a good idea, let me hit up Nate. So I hit up Nate. I remember I picked up some White Claws, went to his apartment, we were just chilling in the park, drinking, catching up, and that opened a whole new friendship for me. So That's also a lesson for you guys if you guys are in a new city. It kind of opens up that social loop or barrier where somebody you usually wouldn't hit up and hang out with in your hometown, but if you guys are in a new city, it kind of opens up that door for you to re-establish a connection and hang out with them because you're in a new environment. It kind of changes people, I'd say, or just there's less social norms to it, or people are more open to hang out with you if they don't usually hang out with you in your city when you're in a new city for some reason. But that opened up a whole new set of connections for me through Nate, my good friend. So Nate really helped me out establish a new friend circle, right? Nate was always very inclusive of me, inviting me out to parties, social gatherings with his friends, and then from there, right, it just begins to snowball. You meet people out, you guys exchange contact information, you guys hang out, and then from there it's just a chain reaction in New York City, especially because the culture in New York City is very open to establishing new connections. It's not super cliquey. They, for example, like, hey, there's a housewarming party, bring a +1. We're having a party, we're having a pregame, bring a +1, right? It's very like, hey, let's bring as many people together and get to know each other, right? So, moving out to New York City was, and it still is, one of the most exciting chapters of my life. There's always something to do, right? You can, at 1 p.m. you go to the park, you go to the library, you go to sit at a coffee shop. 1 or 2 a.m. you can go out to a bar or club, go catch a concert. You could just have a house party with all your friends. Whatever you want to do in New York City, you can go do. You can watch a Broadway show. You want to just paint at a park, you can go do that. You want to lay in the sun at a park, when it is sunny, go do that. So New York City is really just your oyster. You really can do as much as possible, and it's a really great place to live when in your 20s because everybody usually has a full-time job now, and the subway makes everything really accessible, so you're able to hop around the city and go to different boroughs relatively easily. And it just basically feels like college, but everybody has money now, so you can do a lot more fun things, I'd say. And that's why I love being in New York City. There's that energy, the opportunity to do anything at any time, and you just meet so many ambitious, smart, fun people trying to live their best lives. It's a very work hard, play hard city, right? And that's why I love it. But with that, all those things in the city, I wanted to talk about one of the first points I made in this video of why it's one of the worst value cities in the US or maybe even the world. I think number one is rent. Rent is absolutely insane in New York. If you want to get a 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan, the average cost is around $4,000 to $4,800, and that might be an old building. You might have a walk-up. It might be not modern, not remodeled, and you might not have even a washer and dryer for your laundry in the apartment. And if you want to compare that to like a single family home in the United States, right, that average cost is, I think, $2,200 for a single family home. You could buy a home in America you could buy 2 homes for the price of 1-bedroom apartment in New York City, which is absolutely insane. And mind you, right, the New York City apartment is going to be like maybe 500 square feet. And then if you want to, guarantee you're going to be a nice luxury building, that's $5K plus, right, at least. And that's where a lot of people's money goes in New York City, right? They make their salary and then they spend the majority on rent. But the second biggest cost to being in New York City is, you're living in the city so you can experience some of the best restaurants in the world, go out, have fun with your friends, bars, clubs, concerts, right? But all those things cost a lot of money, especially eating out for dinner, right? If you want to go eat out at a nice trendy restaurant, or even just a nice restaurant in general, right? It's not Michelin star, but just a solid spot. It's gonna be around $30 to $60 per person. If each of you guys decide to get one drink, that's gonna be at least $20 usually. And then with tip, right, it kind of balloons the cost up. And then drinks is kind of where the big killer is, I'd say. But just eating out in general in New York City is really expensive. And also, if you go out on a date in New York City, I know when I was going out on dates in New York City, usually what I like to do for the first day is just do like a cocktail bar. It's usually kind of like a safe choice. Obviously you can do like different things, but that's usually what I would do. And that cost would usually be, if we just got one round of drinks and I'd pay for the tab, it would be at least like $40. But usually for first date, sometimes if the conversation's going well, you would get 2 drinks, so that racks up the bill usually to $80 after tip. And you know, that really adds up. Obviously you can do more cost-effective things, but just want to give you guys an example for the cost of how much things cost in New York. So it can be quite expensive, but on the housing front, right, you don't have to live in a 1-bedroom apartment and get your own spot, right? You can live in a studio. Maybe it would be like $2,500 to $3K, maybe $3,500 for a luxury one. Or you can just live with roommates, right? You can get a 2-bedroom, you can split the cost that way, but then you have to live with roommate. But some people like living with roommates. And then the third hack on housing is just get a boyfriend or girlfriend. Save you hella money, I'm telling you. And then on the food and eating out costs and drinks costs, right? Like, for me, I was able to save money on that front because Monday to Friday, I'm usually cooking chicken and maybe some rice or just some kind of protein in the air fryer. I'm eating my fruits from Trader Joe's, right? So I'm making food at home Monday to Friday. I'm shopping at a grocery store, specifically Trader Joe's, because they usually keep the cost very efficient in New York. Some other grocery stores in New York are still absolutely insane. And you can also go to like local supermarkets in like Chinatown or even Brooklyn that have really cost-efficient pricing. You just gotta find those spots. But if you're able to cook every day on your own, Monday to Friday usually, maybe you can eat out once or twice a week, you'll still be the same money. And then if you don't buy hella drinks, you'll be able to save as well. And then if you keep your rent in check, which is very hard to do in New York City, you'll be able to save money. But obviously there are savvy ways to live a high quality life in New York, but it can be very hard. And the value, I think the biggest value trap is just housing. It's an absolute scam, but that kind of shows the value people see in being in New York City. Right, for the reasons I outlined above. It's one of the most exciting cities to be in the world. You're around so many like-minded individuals, and you know, with all the bullshit that comes with New York City of like construction, crime, high costs, taxes, a lot of people still choose, especially people in their 20s, want to be in New York City for that excitement, that buzz, that feeling that you could do anything in the world, that feeling for an exciting life. And you know, that's why New York City is one of the worst value cities, specifically because of rent, food, and going out costs. But people are down for that bad value because the city is that exciting. So I just wanted to share my thoughts of, you know, why I moved to New York City, why I love being in the city, but why I also think it's an absolute scam at times, and people are willing to deal with it. So thanks for tuning into my stream of thought video. I'll see everybody in the next one.